Kind of funny how I got into it. Believe it or not, I was a policeman. It doesn't have a lot to do with agriculture, but had a chance. I'd been in police work about 10 years, and a good friend of mine was a news director over at Channel 13 at that time, and they had an opening. It wasn't in the ag department, but he said, "How would you like to come over and kind of be our police reporter?" And offered me a little more money than what the police was doing. I said, "Well, it sounds great." So I did about a year, and the farm director at that time, Channel 13, just decided he didn't want to do it anymore. And I was the one that had any. I've never farmed in my life. All my kinfolk were farmers, but I rodeoed a little bit, you know. Anyhow, they didn't have a farm director, so the owner over there said, "Would you fill in till we can get somebody?" And here I am, 37 years later. So that's kind of a funny way around, but I got into it, and like I said, I've never farmed, but I was not afraid to get on there and say, "Hey, I need some help. I've never done this before." And the boss just said, "It's your job now to make it or break it." And so I just asked the farmers for help, and boy, they came out of the woodwork stuff. You know, we got the greatest farmers in the world out in this part of the country, and they're awful easy to talk to, and they'll help you any way you can if you don't lie to them. And I found that out at a very early age. I think we're seeing less and less broadcasters in ag. I mean, gosh, I'm trying to remember when I first got into it, in our farm broadcasters convention, we'd have well over 500 broadcasters from across the state. And now I think it's about half of that. Towns, I guess we're lucky in Lubbock still have a radio station that would allow us to do ag, because I do an hour a day, and that's pretty, I say precious time. It's time that an owner can really sell to make money, and we've been blessed to have the ag community out here behind us, and the name of the game is to sell it. You know, I don't care what you do on the air, if you don't sell it, you won't be on very long. So we've been blessed in that respect. We're a home-owned operated station here at AM 580. Came down from Big Ed Wilkes, who had passed away. He was a good friend of mine. Everybody knew Big Ed Wilkes here in Lubbock. And now I'm blessed to work with his son, Wade Wilkes, and it's just a family. We really consider ourselves here at this station small. Been in operation since '53, and so I think that means a lot when your owners are behind you, because I've talked to a lot of foreign broadcasters that the owners just say, "Hey, it's not worth it. We can sell this time and don't have to, go satellite with it, whatever." So much radio anymore is satellite. Announcer comes in, records his show, and he's out of there. He won't take calls because he's not on there. It's all satellite, which is great at times. We go that way at 6 o'clock at night. We're on satellite all night. So that's been one of the great major changes in radio. But just being able to keep an ag show on the air, as far as I'm concerned, has really done something, because there's few and far between anymore. Well, it's made a 180-degree turn, basically. I mean, we started out with tape machines, and at that time I had to go out and do my own filming and television when I was on TV, and with a camera that was a real camera, and you'd get out in humidity and come back, your film would be all bogged up. You couldn't use it. So we've come a long way with our computers and everything else. We've really come a long way. Communications, we can get in touch, with just about anybody up in D.C. at any time. We've got people up there that's more than glad to talk to you. So it's just really turned around, just keeps up with the times. If they're not, they won't be in business long. I mean, that's the signs of the future. Our farmers are the most progressive, aggressive. I mean, they've got to be a lawyer, a doctor. I mean, they've got to know a little bit about everything. You just don't go out anymore and say, "I'm going to plant 3,000 acres of cotton," or "I'm going to raise 100 head of cattle." It's all, and you go to these new dairies and look at the technology that they have to go through. A normal person just walking on the road cannot run all that equipment. You've got, and like I say, they've got to be bookkeepers, everything. So, yeah, they are. If they don't stay on top of the times, they won't be in business very long. And that's just kind of the way agriculture's going, and it's good. It really is, because the way people conceive of production agriculture right now, we're not real well thought of, basically, and that's hard to say, but it's a lot of truth. Well, I always say Big Ed was, I knew Big Ed when I was on the police force, and radio station at KRFE-AM at that time was right across the street from the police department. And I always admired Big Ed because he was just, what you saw is what you got. He was a great gentleman, and got to know him. And when I got into the business, he told me, said, you know, don't be something you're not. If you don't know the answer, tell them you'll find out, and get back to them. But don't come, if you're not an expert, don't come across as one, because farmers can read you real quick, and they know. And like I said, I've never lied to them on purpose anyhow. That I said, I've never farmed, but I love what I'm doing and seeing and getting to visit with the farmers. So Big Ed was probably as much an inspiration as anybody I can really think of. You know, I think any innovations, of course, you have to stay up on it. And I'm of the older generation. It took me a while, and I just know enough about computers to really be dangerous sometime. But you got to stay on top of it, and that's the way basically we get our news anymore. Used to, we had a teletype, and we had all the stuff in there, and you could get it. Nowadays, if you don't get it off the internet, you're just probably not going to get it. So I like the advances, and like I say, we have good rapport with the people up in D.C. That'll give us stories, and never hesitate to call them. I can get a hold of Congressman Naugabauer at any time, just like I could with Congressman Combest. So, you know, I think it's good. It really is. We always need change. You just got to stay on top of it, basically, and try to stay up with the crew. I would have to say the American agriculture movement. I really would. I mean, that was a turning point for a lot of things. As we said, we got there. The first day was really tough. Several of our farmers got out of line. Several law enforcement officers, I think, got out of line. But I'll tell you, you know, you see a big tractor roaring down on you, and I'll never forget. I made a talk to a group before we went to Washington. My police background, they asked me to come out and talk and tell them what I thought they'd see when they arrived in Washington on the tractors. And I said, they'll let you do just exactly what they want you to do. I said that, well, they can't stop these tractors. And I said, let me tell you something. I'd hate to think that our government couldn't stop a bunch of tractors coming into town, because that means anybody can overrun our government. They'll let you do, and I could see it when I was going in. I was on one of the lead tractors, and I saw what was happening. They were putting buses, garbage trucks, everything around the mall, and once the last tractor got in, they closed the mall off, and that was accident. That's it. So you don't overrun Washington, what you don't want to do. But I think they learned a lot. The second day, everything settled down. We had a snowstorm. They carried people out of snow, nurses to work. They showed cooperation, and I think they really did some good. I just hope we're able to hang on. I really do. Like I go back to, you've got to have bosses that believe in you, and first of all, you've got to sell it. I'll be first to admit it. If the hour time slot, if I couldn't sell it, they would find somebody that would take it, or they'd just go satellite and, you know, not have to pay me. So it still boils down to sales. You've got to give them a product that the customers want to buy, and treat them right, and they stick with you, because that's kind of what money talks, and you know what walks type deal. It's just kind of the way it is. So I hope it continues to go. I can't see our numbers really increasing. If anything, just last week, a good friend of mine was a farm broadcaster, and they walked in and said, we're just not going to do ag anymore. And it's not in the state of Texas, but that's the signs of the times. I really don't see our numbers getting any bigger. I just hope we're able to communicate, because, you know, we only represent about 3.5% of the people in agriculture. So we don't have a big listening voice out there. Just like I asked Chairman Colin Peterson, who was here about a month ago, how many of the members he thought in Washington, D.C. really understood what production agriculture meant. He said, I'd like to say maybe 3 or 4%. He said, Jim, it's probably like 1 to 1.5%. That's kind of a sad status that they don't know more about production agriculture than what they do. Like I said, I love what I do. I wouldn't do anything else. I love working with you folks at Tech, and I've been blessed to make a lot of friends over the years in agriculture that I would have never made elsewhere. I guess I took a bunch of farmers, a group of farmers, to Australia several years ago, and saw their economy over there. So I've been blessed. I appreciate all that. I couldn't do it without them, and to this day, I'm not a farmer, never farmed, but I'm certainly not ashamed to ask a question, and that's just how I go.